big man ting, smash a like button and subscribe. So your boy, Carl, too big, too strong for Triple G spot at 168, Froch. Too big, too strong, Froch, has revealed in a Sky Sports sit-down ringside exclusive that the YB is exclusively procured that Anthony Joshua, the only way he can beat Tyson Fury is by stoppage. Let me give you the quotes now. He says the following: I think the only way that AJ can win this fight is by stoppage. He can't outbox Fury, who is too good at range. Too long. Too long. I can't think of something similar. Too long, too lanky. That's what it is. Never mind too big, too strong. Too long, too lanky. Simple as that. That's the equivalent. Carl Froch, too big, too strong for Triple G spot. Tyson Fury, too long, too lanky for AJ. One of them ones. That's basically what too big, too strong Froch said. He goes on. He throws punches from all angles and he's so awkward. But Joshua is an Olympic gold medalist with strong fundamentals, and he's got combination punches with real aggression. If he produces the same finishing instinct that he's shown in his past fights, then he can beat Fury. AJ can get him all the way out of there. I think he can, because you saw bursts of this aggression in the Kubrat Pulev fight. If AJ maintains that, there's a chance he could stop him. But the problem is, if he doesn't stop Fury, then he's going to lose on points. So, fair play to Froch. And one thing, initially, or maybe even consistently, Froch has always been a bit bitter about AJ. He used to kind of try and joke about things, but you could always tell he got a bit bitter. Because his old shtick was, 80k at Wembley. And then AJ did 100k at Wembley, and he's always been a little bit, in my opinion, he's always been a little bit bitter. Lately, that bitterness has kind of faded. I think after all the people, you will notice, all the people who was real bitter about AJ, after he lost to Ruiz, a lot of that bitterness kind of faded. Because when someone's riding high and then they lose, it makes everyone who is bitter feel better about themselves. They think, oh yes, he's not as perfect as I thought he was. Everyone bitter about AJ, that's because they're jealous, basically. Bottom line. 100%. So Froch feels like, oh yes, I got schooled by Andre Ward, so now me and AJ are comparable because we've both lost. That's what he's thinking. Anyway, here nor there. Today, 2020, December, I think Froch is, like I said, that bitterness has faded over the last year since AJ lost. And he's talked some real talk here. Let's take it from the top. He starts off by saying, I think the only way he can win is by stoppage. He can't outbox Fury, who is too good at range. He throws punches from all angles. Now, I kind of disagree on this. Can AJ outbox Fury? I'm just not sure. We'll have to see it. I don't believe people... Let's get something straight yet. When Fury outboxed Vlad has never been really someone who likes to get on it. Vlad don't like to stand in front of anyone. Even when he fought Hay, he was all... If you see what I mean. He wasn't really sticking it on Hay. And Hay was a man who had one toe. He could barely stand up, could he? And his big toe was hurt. He hurt his big toe, so he could barely stand up. You know what I mean? So, but nah. What I'm trying to get at is, we've seen Fury outbox people who are small, or shook, or dazzled, like Klitschko was. We've never really seen him outbox. Look at Wilder, for example. Fury was struggling to outbox him, in as much as he got caught twice, and arguably lost the fight. If he was that great at boxing, he wouldn't have got knocked out by Wilder the first time. So his boxing, people put him on his boxing pedestal like he's just some magician. And you got to remember as well, this is heavyweight. So it don't take much as such. And also, we've seen AJ's recent boxing skills. I'm just trying to work it out. I'm just not sure. I'm not sure what Fury's going to do on even, let's say AJ goes in just to box and play around, and Fury goes in to play around and box. I still think it's, I've told you man before, I still think AJ can win that fight. It's going to be obviously a lot closer. If AJ goes in there like I've told him to, like Canelo versus Smith, just chin down, hands up, and just marches forward, don't take a back step, it's easy work. He wins by stoppage or decision. Either way, it's 12 rounds, he wins every round kind of thing. If he goes in there and he's on the outside and whatever, then it's 50-50. Or maybe even 45-55 to Fury. I'll just give Fury the slight advantage just for the sake of it. Just to shut the Fury fans up kind of thing. But I still think, more or less, it's down the middle. I just don't see Fury as being that magical. He's not like a Mayweather, yeah? Or Mayweather, just tricky. Even if you get on the inside with him, like Maidana did, you ain't really touch him much. Fury ain't that slick on the inside. He just ain't. That's why Wilder, who only throws one shot, hit him with two. Mister only has a right hand, hit Fury with a right hand and a left hook. Show me, you've never seen Mayweather get hit with 2 first shots. Never. At most, in his whole career, he's been hit with 1 shot at a time. So the fact that Fury got hit by a man who throws a big sloppy left hook, and his right hand's alright, but a big sloppy left hook, after a right hand, that just tells me he ain't all that slick. He's not a Mayweather slick. If he was Mayweather slick, I'd be saying, yeah, AJ can't win the boxing. But he's not. He's not Mayweather. He's knockoff Mayweather. It's not even comparable to Mayweather. He's just alright. The reason everyone rants and raves about Fury is because how weak the rest of the division is. That's the only reason. If the truth be known, he's not that magical. He looks magical against Panini. He looks magical against Suffer Safiri, all these Carpadons. Look at Fury's career, yeah? Take Wilder, and even Wilder. As I said, Wilder, the first person who ain't even that good still. Let's get something straight here, yeah? No one was singing Wilder's praises about how great he was, apart from the LDBC, who we all laughed at. So let's not make out, oh, well, Fury beat Wilder. That proves he's a wicked boxer. It don't prove squat. That proves he beat someone he should have beat. He should have never got knocked out 2 times the first time, if the truth be known. If he was that great at boxing, that sloppy left hook, the right hand I don't really mind because, you know what, that's Wilder's thing. I still think that if you're that slick, you shouldn't be getting knocked out by it. Have you never seen Mayweather on his back? But forget the right hand, the left hook that followed up. If great boxers don't get hit with, or great people who are meant to be that slick, the way that how slick Fury's meant to be, all the Matrix stuff, you don't get hit with 2 shots in a row. He got hit with both. They both clattered off his head. So that he's not all that. And with that in mind, AJ throws his hooks a lot shorter. All of his shots are a lot shorter than Wilder's. So if you're getting, and he throws a lot more as well. He's putting more together. So if Mister, I'm only gonna throw 1 shot at a time, can hit you with 2, AJ's throwing 5 or 6 at a time is gonna hit you with 2 as well at least. Is my thinking. So even if it's a battle of the outsides, it's 50-50. This whole business of AJ can't box with Fury. The only way AJ can lose on the boxing front, or the only way the odds go up massively for Fury on the boxing front, is if AJ goes in there and just gets bedazzled, like Vlad did. If AJ goes in there and he's buying all the feints and whatnot, and that's why really there's only one strategy. Because I'm saying here that AJ can win the boxing, he can, but still, whether AJ boxes or whether he Mike Tyson 1986's, either way, he's got to not buy into what Fury is doing. He's got to play his own game plan. Although, to be honest, recently we've seen Fury training at the Kronk, so I'm not even sure what Fury's going to do. To be honest, if I was to bet, I'd think he probably is going to run around, but we don't know how gassed his trainers have got him. He may genuinely go in there like he did against Wilder. So I'm not. A lot of people like Carl Froch here is saying, "Oh, yeah, AJ can't box with Fury." We don't even know that's what Fury's going to do. Now, if Fury was with Ben Davidson still, I'd be saying, I'd bet my life that Fury's going to run around. But now, if I was to bet actually, I think he's going to go in there. He's not going to be as aggressive as he was against Wilder, I don't believe. I think he'll pay AJ a bit more respect, but it's not going to be it's going to be kind of in the middle. It's going to be in the middle between what he did against Wilder and what he did against Wilder the first fight. It's going to be bang in the middle, I believe. He's going to show AJ more respect, which is going to make him a bit more hesitant. That said, he's not going to be fighting like he did against Vlad, for example. I think he is going to look to step on it, but I don't know. We'd have to. This fight is really interesting on both sides. Same with AJ right now, to be honest. I can't sit. Before, a year ago or 2 years ago, I'd have told you, easy work. AJ comes marching forward and sticks it on him. Now, honestly, I don't know. Both men, I'm not sure. Given AJ's last few performances against Ruiz, against Pulev, anyone who tells you they know AJ's going to come out and stick it on him, I don't know. We haven't seen that. And no matter how, or I don't rate Fury that much, but I rate Pulev even less. So if AJ was taking his time and trying to box with Pulev, I can't believe he's going to be real aggressive, or it's harder to believe he's going to suddenly go and stick it straight on Fury, if that makes sense. Fury ain't worse than Pulev. He's younger, and he's just, let's be honest now. No matter how much we support AJ, the bottom line is we know Fury's a better boxer than Pulev. So if AJ didn't really want to get stuck in against Pulev, it's only going to be more so unless him and his team bring the YB in and we get this sorted. Or bring someone in. Bring Tony Sims back. Bring someone who knows how to train AJ properly. Because this whole business of backing up against Pulev, it's not it. It's just not. Especially for this Fury fight. Canelo has laid the blueprint of how to beat Fury. Your chin down and your hands up. AJ needs to go back and watch his early performances. He knows what I'm saying here ain't rocket science. He was doing this with Tony Sims. So only recently he started doing all this extra stuff that he doesn't need to do. Chin down, hands up. You're parrying shots. You're holding your feet. You refuse to back up. Your whole training camp is, we ain't taking a back step. We don't respect this man enough to take a back step. Simple as that. It really is. The same way AJ went in there against Dillian and more or less said, I don't respect this man. That's exactly the same thing. And if anything, Dillian's a more dangerous puncher. Do you know what I'm saying? AJ, going back and watch, the AJ versus Takam fight. Takam's a more deadly puncher than Fury. And AJ was just on him, like a dog. Seriously, anyone who's watched the Pulev fight recently, go back and watch the Takam fight. I couldn't believe what I was watching. AJ's there holding his feet, catching, countering, not backing up, not all herky-jerky, just in there, looking to work, basically. Not tying up first. Just in there mixing it. That's what we should be working. That should be the baseline of where we're working on for the future. But anyway, going back to what Carl Froch has had to say. He says here, but Joshua is an Olympic champion with strong fundamentals and he's got combination punches with real aggression. If he produces the same finishing instinct that he's shown in past fights, then he can beat Fury. If he produces the same fighting instinct that he's shown in past fights, then he can beat Fury. I don't even think it's about the finishing instinct. It's about the general attitude. Watch Canelo versus Triple G1. In the first fight, Alvarez paid Golovkin way too much respect. He was antsy. The second fight, the first 7 rounds, Alvarez didn't take a back step. And that's against a pound-for-pound puncher. Fury ain't no pound-for-pound puncher. So if Canelo, who's going up to fight the big bad wolf, if him and his team can find it in themselves to say, we ain't going back on this fight, we're the ones who are going to be dangerous, then I don't see no reason that we can't have the same out of AJ. I really don't. To be honest, I am actually disappointed I'm having to have this conversation with you, man. We should be right now, us man should just be gassed about how Fury's going to get mauled. I shouldn't be having to sit here and have these serious conversations. This ain't a serious fight. If the YB's in AJ's camp here, this ain't a serious fight. But because we've got McCracken in there and a whole gang of moist dons in there who don't know what they're doing, and I don't know what they're doing, but they don't know what they're doing. Bring Tony Sims back. He knew what he was doing. I still think I could do a better job, but nonetheless, at least he was doing, he had the right ideas. He knows how to train a full fighter, not someone who just is scary. And I understand being cautious against people who warrant it. If AJ's going in there with Lennox Lewis, Mike Tyson, even Ruiz to a lesser extent, but if you want to throw Ruiz in there, whatever, he's got combinations, he can hit hard, he turns his shots over. Fury slaps, yeah? Fury does none of the things that any of these men do. He don't hit hard. He isn't scary to be in front of. Not for AJ. AJ was in front of Vlad. Don't tell me Fury hits harder than a 40-year-old Vlad. He don't. It's simple as that. He don't. There's a reason Wilder was in there for 6 rounds. 7 rounds and still couldn't get him out of there properly. When AJ hits on you for a few rounds back to back to back to back, you're out there. As we saw against Pulev. And AJ only hit on him for about 2 rounds. If that, I think it was 1.5 rounds. I think it was only a round actually. Fury was pummeling Wilder for 7 rounds. Couldn't get him out of there. AJ touched Pulev once in 2 rounds each. So twice in 2 rounds, and he got out of there. Flat out. That's the levels. And when you have them kind of levels, when you're in AJ's team, yeah, if I'm in AJ's team, I'm telling him. I'm explaining all these things to him. I don't think them man do this. I think them man just, they're just scary dudes. Explain all the reasons why we're sticking it on this man. He don't have the power. He ain't quicker than us. He ain't more dangerous than us. He's got nothing for us to be. Now, obviously, you train to be as skillful as possible. Always. But it's about the mentality here what's important. The mentality wasn't there for me in the Pulev fight. Many other people have said the same thing. Peter Fury came out. I've got a video coming soon. Peter Fury came out middle, I think round 6, and said, I don't know why Joshua was being this way. He needs to get the jab pumping. Because even when he was fighting Pulev, the jab wasn't pumping. It was kind of, he'll put one down. And there was he should have been doubling and tripling it up and backing him up. Go and watch the Takam fight. Go and watch the Parker fight. That's how you jab. You're driving people back with it. Not poking and dotting out of the way. What is AJ dotting out of the way of Pulev for? What for? Oh, people telling me, he doesn't want to get hit. Why does he not want to get hit against Pulev? If you don't want to get hit, AJ, go back and watch your fights with Dillian White. I've got all these videos coming soon. Don't worry, I'm gonna expose his whole team because they don't know what they're doing. Go back and watch AJ versus Takam, Dillian, Parker. He's in there, slipping, catching, and countering. I suggest you, man, all you man, who think I'm just, YB just wants everyone to run forward. Go back and watch AJ's early fights properly. Don't just sit there and actually watch the fights. And as I said, I'll do it for you. I'm going to bring out the videos for you. You'll see AJ holding his feet, catching, parrying, and most importantly, slipping. You won't believe it. Dillian White throws a jab, AJ slips it by an inch and counters. Dillian White throws a right hand, AJ slips it by 2 inches and counters. That's what you do when you're in there with these people who ain't all that bad. These people ain't bad, man. They're just not. Certainly not Fury. For Fury, he gets the slip treatment. He gets the catch treatment. These guys ain't punching so hard that you got to think, wow, man, well, even if I take one of these shots on the gloves and arms, I'm going to feel that in the morning. These ain't that, man. And that's a great example of it. Look at Callum Smith. Callum Smith was in there with a pound-for-pound puncher. And because his defence was nice and tight, he was catching it all. So when your defence is tight, do you know what I'm saying? You can just relax. Although he was backing up, but still. The better example is, look at Canelo, for example. You don't see him going backwards ever. He doesn't need to. His head's going to be moving, or he's going to have his chin down, and he's going to be watching what's coming. Don't close your eyes and get all bamboozled. The minute you close your eyes, that's how you lose what's going on. Watch what's coming. Chin down, hands up, and if it's straight, you're parrying. If it's a hook, you're catching. It's as simple as that. And AJ was doing it. Now all of a sudden, he's in front of Pulev. He nicks a jab to the body, and he wants to dance out the way. Why are you dancing for? Jab to the body, and see what's popping in there. What was Pulev going to do? Just start lighting you up? When has Pulev ever lit someone up on the inside? Ever. And that's what I'm getting at. Pulev was the stiffest, most uselessest opponent ever. That should have been a heavy bag session. AJ should have been stunting in it. I told you, man, if I was training AJ, we'd have gone into that fight just pulling some Naz type stuff. Hands down, just testing things out. Relaxing. This was the relaxed fight where you just stunt and pick people apart and show new skills. This weren't the, oh, I'm going to show how I can dance in and out of range. What for? This was the, I'm going to touch him all over and just stunt a little bit. Show people my head movement. Show people the higher level skills I've worked on. Backing out of range every 2 seconds isn't a high level skill. It really isn't. It's not an attractive skill. Staying in the pocket and keeping safe is an attractive skill. Seeing people in the pocket, slipping, sliding, that's attractive. That's what people want to see. And that's what gets the job done as well. The only thing AJ needed to add to his game, from years ago, was head movement and offensive, defensive skills. So being able to roll under shots and counter. To being able to slip and counter. He was already doing bits of it, but it just needed to be improved to a high level. He already had the baseline. Once I'll show you, man, you probably don't believe me, because I didn't even believe it. It was only when I went back and watched the fights and actually concentrated, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. He was doing all the right stuff then. Now you seldomly see head movement. It's all about moving his feet and getting out of range. The feet, in my opinion, is almost like a last resort. If you've been caught, or if you just want to change up the look. You know what I mean? You've been in the pocket for a while, you just want to change up. That's when you move your feet. You don't just... Moving the feet isn't your be-all and end-all. Alright, after every shot I throw, I've got to move my feet and get out of range. That's what we're seeing currently. Anyway, moving on. Yeah, so Carfrot says here, if he produces the same finishing instinct he's shown in past fights, then he can beat Fury. It's not about the finishing instinct. It's about the overall... The bottom line is, it's about the culture of the camp. What is our beliefs? What is our religion in this camp? The whole lot should be aggressive. Not just the finishing instinct. You don't become a great finisher by only... Oh, well. You don't become a great finisher. Like, the finishing is the last part. You've got to break people down first. Does that make sense? People, like, you can't just focus on the finish. The finish is the last, 10 punches? There's a whole lot that goes in before that. And funnily enough, that's what was missing in the Pulev fight. AJ went from, because he's got deadly hands, he went from not putting much work in, not breaking Pulev down, to all of a sudden going mad and throwing a whole load of shots. That transition wasn't there. In other fights, it was the other way. In other fights, the Parker fight, the Decam fight, you see AJ driving, jab forward. Driving, getting into range, and then looking for his inside shots. Right now, it's kind of like, nick a jab. Pulev wasn't getting broken down, and you can tell. When someone's getting broken down, they look like they're getting broken down. They're backing up, they're weary. Pulev was always coming forward, always inching, trying to get into range. That's not someone who's getting broken down, or tired. It was only when AJ hit him with something decent that he kind of wobbled, but that's the reason he didn't go in the first or the second round, sorry. It's because he wasn't worked. If AJ had been pumping that jab, and putting a right hand for the first 2 rounds, he probably would have been ready to go in that round, if that makes sense. But there was no, and even between the 2nd and the 10th round, there was still no real working. Peter Fury called it out. There was no, Pulev weren't getting busted up by the jab. Look at Pulev's face, look at Pulev's body. He weren't busted up. He was just getting touched. That's what's missing. And it's not even missing because it was there. Years ago it was there. AJ was great at jabbing and breaking people down and getting on top of them. Via the jab. In fact, that was one of his great tools. Doubling the jab up. and getting into range, and then looking to throw inside shots and looking to work on the inside. There's very little. AJ seldomly looks to. The only reason he looked to work on the inside against Pulev was when he saw Pulev was hurt. He caught him with a right hand or something, and he realised he was hurt. It wasn't because he was looking to work there. AJ versus Takam. AJ's looking to work on the inside all night, and Takam doesn't even really go until the 10th or whatever. But all night you see AJ driving forward, looking to mix it up. You never see AJ trying to mix it up on Pulev until Pulev's at a disadvantage kind of thing. Until he's blatantly on his last legs. There was no willingness to stand and to see what was popping on the inside. And listen, if AJ had gone on the inside with Pulev, yeah, and thought, wow, this man's a demon, okay, then back up. But he didn't even want to test that part, really. Anyway, last thing, Froch says, AJ can get him out of there. I think he can because you saw bursts of his aggression in the Kubrat-Pulev fight. If AJ maintains that, there's a chance he could stop him. But the problem is, if he doesn't stop Fury, then he's going to lose on points. Again, I don't know about the winning or losing on points or stopping Fury. I'm not even sure. Even if AJ, yeah, well, no. If AJ fights perfectly, how I imagine him fighting, Fury gets stopped for sure, 1,000,000%. But even if AJ is averagely aggressive, there's no guarantee you're going to stop Fury. So you're still going to have to... AJ's going to basically have to break him down. And he's going to have to get his Canelo game on. Mixed with Mike Tyson. Canelo, Mike Tyson. That's the mix we're going to have to go for on this one. And until someone tell me why it's a bad idea for AJ to approach this fight with that Mike Tyson attitude. That's all they should be focusing on. Explain to me why AJ needs to be all herky-jerky and looking to box with Fury. I don't get it. Tell me why. Is Fury an amazing inside fighter who just loves to mix it up and really dangerous? He slaps his hooks. Do you understand that? He hits people with the palm of his hand. Now I'm not saying, yeah, would he knock me out? Probably. But this is AJ's a trained specimen. A 6'6" specimen. Fury ain't stronger than you. But we saw bursts of aggression, but AJ needs to maintain it, is what Froch says. I think that, yeah, on a basic level, yeah. But no, it needs to be more strategic than that. When Canelo fights, it's not just aggression, it's that. But that's why I say it's a mix between Canelo and Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson was just a bit too ferocious. AJ is too big to be that ferocious, but it's that balance. Canelo for me is just a bit too relaxed. He doesn't put 5 or 6 together. AJ does. So you need to get that balance right. It needs to be that calm, cool, collected pressure, but with a bit more urgency behind you. Canelo had no urgency. It's almost like he was happy just to get the points win. AJ, I want to see AJ looking and working. Every round I want to see him working towards a goal. The Pulev fight, there was no working towards a goal. He got lucky, really. He knocked Pulev out. Does that make sense? When I say he got lucky, I mean, because AJ's hands are that lucky, it just so happened that the knockout came. It wasn't because Pulev was bust down and then he got him. That wasn't it. It's just because most men's chin aren't designed to take one of AJ's hands. Do you know what I'm saying? And that's why, comparatively, when he was in there with someone with a better chin who's younger, Ruiz, see how it didn't work? That's the difference here. When someone's got a world-class chin and they're in their prime, like Ruiz is, all that on the outside business ain't going to knock people out. As it probably won't against Fury. Because he's in his prime and we know he can recover well. Even if he gets put down, he's probably going to get back up. You ain't going to stop Fury on that kind of performance we saw against Pulev. You'll stop someone like Pulev who doesn't have a world-class chin and who is 40 years old. But for people like Ruiz, Fury, you have to earn it, kind of thing, which is obvious. We hear AJ talking about he wants to get the best out of himself. The Pulev fight wasn't the best out of himself. All of these people in the heavyweight division today, they deserve nothing more than getting abused in there. Properly. Not nip in and, oh, I caught him, let me go mad now. That's not earning it. You gotta earn it. What's that? What's the God of War's name? Let's call him Thanos. Thanos don't just when you're at this world class level, Pulev is world class, but when we're talking about the Premier level, the top, the God of War ain't just gonna hand you knockouts. You have to earn them. And when he's seen enough, when he's seen Fury take enough punishment, he'll bless you with it. Do you know what I'm saying? That's how you got to think of it. You have to offer up your sacrifice. Yeah? You don't, listen, when you offer a sacrifice, you don't give it to the gods alive, do you? No, you make sure it's well cooked first. It's meant to be a sacrifice. Isn't it? You meant to, these things, lineal champion and unified champion, you have to sacrifice for them. You don't just go in there and, oh, I'm going to take no risk and I'm going to heebie-jeebie around the ring. If you want true greatness, if you want to be known as, if you want everyone to suck you off as the greatest thing since sliced bread, this is the game we're in.